Hello everyone. Before we start, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel and leave a comment with where you're from and what time you're watching. That way, YouTube will keep showing you stories just like this one. Now, let's begin. I've been driving 18-wheelers across the US for a good chunk of my life, long enough to know every patch of beat-up asphalt from the Rockies to the Mississippi, every old gas station coffee pot, every shortcut through the back roads when interstates get ugly, and long enough to hear a lot of things on my CB radio that belong in the dead of night and nowhere else. Stuff you tell yourself is just pranks from bored drivers, but sometimes it sits with you. This is one I wish I could forget. This happened about 7 years ago, passing through central Kansas, hauling insulated pipes out to a work site in western Oklahoma. It was late March, mud season, and the sky was black and bruised with heavy rain hammering the windshield like a drumbeat. Highway 97 isn't what you'd call scenic. It's flat, empty, and when the fields are flooded and the trees bend in the wind, it feels like the edge of nowhere. I'd gotten a late start. My hands still smelled like cheap coffee and diesel by the time I got rolling. There's a stretch of 97, about 40 miles outside a town called Newton, where the cell signal blinks out and the only voices that come through are on the old two-way CB. I'd settled in for the haul, windshield wipers screeching back and forth. I'd almost tuned out the radio. It was just background noise. A couple drivers swapping weather reports, a trucker from Oklahoma City talking about upcoming road closures. Static, then nothing. Just me and the hum of tires on wet pavement. About midnight, something broke through. It was sudden. A whisper so quiet I thought I imagined it at first. Just a string of numbers. 38.9. North. 97. 12. West. The voice was flat, almost toneless. No background hum, no engine noise. Just a chill crawling up the back of my neck. I keyed the mic and tried to play it cool. "You all right out there, bud? Repeat your location. Might be some interference. Over." My voice sounded steady, but my hands were sweating. I didn't recognize the channel. Most of us use 19, a few work crews use 6 or 13, but this, I didn't know. The voice went silent. Just that wave of static, rolling and hissing. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe a broken set, maybe kids screwing around, maybe atmospheric weirdness with the storm. That happens out on the plains. A storm rolls in, the air gets thick. You pick up voices from states away. But a minute later, I heard it again, clearer this time. "You're at mile marker 236. Northbound lane. Alone." Every word sent a pulse of ice through my stomach. That exact mile marker. I glanced down. How the hell did they know? I turned the headlights up, flicked the high beams, checked all my mirrors, only black road behind me, shimmering with rain. No lights, no other vehicles for what looked like miles. Just darkness stretching out, broken by the pale flashes of lightning on both sides of the fields. I tried to laugh it off. "Nice trick," I said into the mic, not really expecting a response. The next few minutes stretched out slow, just the endless rhythm of the wipers, the occasional growl of thunder, the isolation bearing down so heavy my skin prickled. I tried to hum to myself, but the tune died in my throat. The CB was dead silent, except for the whisper of static. That's when the voice came again, same neutral tone, almost robotic. "You should slow down now. There's danger ahead." My foot eased off the gas, more out of discomfort than trust. "What danger?" I asked, voice barely above a whisper. No answer, just a low, rattling hum. So I slowed to 50. The road felt slick, more so than usual, like the pavement had turned to glass in the rain. Every instinct screamed at me to ignore it, to just keep rolling, but my hands gripped the wheel hard enough that my knuckles turned white. I came around a shallow curve, high beams sweeping the shoulder, and that's when I saw it. About 30 yards ahead, sprawled across both lanes, was a deer. Not a small one either. Fur matted, legs twisted, the body torn up from a collision probably sometime earlier. If I hadn't slowed, I wouldn't have stood a chance. My rig would have jackknifed or worse. I swerved, wheels crunching onto the gravel shoulder. The whole cab rattled, load straps creaking. My heart was hammering like I'd swallowed a fistful of thunder. Once I got control, I pulled over, engine idling. I grabbed the flashlight and stepped into the rain, cold and sharp against my face, the smell of wet earth thick and metallic. After dragging the deer as best I could to the shoulder, I got back in and radioed out. Thanks for the heads up. Seriously. But who are you? My voice shook. There was a long silence. So long I started to think that was the end of it. Then static. That voice, barely audible through the hiss. Keep driving. Don't stop at the station up ahead. Trust me. I didn't reply. For the next 10 miles, my eyes were wide open, bouncing between the side mirrors, rear view, peering into the rain. After what felt like an eternity, the lights of a 24-hour truck stop glowed up ahead, the only pooling light for miles, sickly yellow and flickering. Normally, I'd have pulled in for a refill, maybe some dreadful vending machine food. But all I could hear in my mind was that voice. Don't stop. So I kept rolling, hands gripping the wheel, trying not to think about how stupid this all was. It's just a prank. Has to be. You're tired, you're hearing things. About a mile past the station, blue and red lights blurred against the rain as police swarmed the lot. Multiple patrol cars, an ambulance, crime scene tape blowing in the gusts. I slowed, not stopping, and could make out the silhouettes of hazmat suits, people moving quickly around a parked 18-wheeler near the pumps. My pulse pounded. I eased through the fog, watching the lights fade behind me in my mirror. Later, once I made it to Oklahoma, I heard from another driver. A trucker had been found dead in his cab at that exact truck stop, sometime just after midnight. They never cleared up what happened. Rumors of a heart attack, carbon monoxide, worse. But the timing stuck with me like a bad taste. Since then, I never drive Route 97 at night if I can help it. And sometimes, when the world's gone quiet and the windshield is nothing but darkness and streaking rain, my CB will crackle to life on Channel 19. Static, barely audible whispers, like someone breathing my name from 40 miles away. I don't know if some voices ever really vanish out here. Maybe the road keeps them alive. Maybe they're waiting for someone else to answer back. If you're still listening, you probably enjoy stories like this. A like or a comment helps keep them alive. I still remember the air that night, the way it pressed against my skin, heavy and warm, holding on to the day's heat long after midnight. Arizona's desert doesn't really cool off, not even in late September, and when I pulled into the rest area near exit 12, the air outside my cab was thick with the smell of dust, diesel, and dry brush. There were cicadas everywhere, their endless buzz mixing with the low hum of my rig's engine. I'd been pushing across I-10 for hours, chasing the clock, hoping to make it out of Tucson before traffic turned ugly. The whole drive, I kept telling myself I'd stop, grab a nap, maybe a greasy burger at a truck stop. But every time I passed an exit, something made me keep rolling. When I finally pulled off near exit 12, the place was nearly deserted. 3 trucks parked in the lot, all silent except for the slow tick of cooled engines and the faint echo of something moving in the underbrush. The rest stop was lit by a single bulb that flickered above the bathroom door, struggling against the darkness. Beyond that circle of light, the desert was absolute black. I let my rig idle for a while, watching my own headlights throw long shadows across the pavement. I found myself listening to the bugs, the distant rumble of a train, the faint static on my CB. I was just about to climb out and stretch my legs when the CB came to life. Channel 19 had been quiet for hours, so the sound startled me. A woman's voice, shaky but clear. "Is anyone near exit 12? My car's broken down. Please, someone help." She sounded scared, not panicking exactly, but with that tight wobble people get when they're holding it together out of sheer will. I grabbed my mic and answered, "Rest stop near 12. This is Big Rig 47. Where are you?" Her reply was buried in static, bleeding in and out like she was walking away from the transmitter. I made out, "Thank you for answering. I'm right outside. I can see your truck." The way she said it felt off, almost like I was on tape delay. She kept talking as if I hadn't said a word back, describing my truck, thanking me again, repeating things I'd said but slightly wrong. I kicked on my floodlights and peered out. The lot was empty. No cars anywhere up or down the off-ramp. I thought maybe she was hidden in the brush, so I got out. Boots crunching on broken gravel, flashlight bobbing through the darkness. All I saw was trash caught in high weeds, the kind of detritus that collects after months of neglect. The CB crackled again. Another trucker's voice, older guy with a deep southern drawl. "Anyone else hearing the woman outside exit 12? I answered back, said I was here. And he laughed, low and nervous. "Weird, partner. I'm headed west on I-40. Nowhere near you." Felt like she was talking right at me, too. The conversation spiraled, each of us describing exactly the same voice, the same strain in her tone, the same way she echoed words back at us. She even used both our first names at different times. Hair rose on my arms. I could feel the desert pressing in, as if the silence was listening to us talk. It got colder. The wind picked up, dragging sand across the pavement. My mind raced. Maybe someone was hiking nearby with a powerful transmitter. Maybe a lost traveler. Maybe a prank. But it didn't feel like any prank I'd ever heard. The desperation in her words, the way she kept thanking us before we even agreed to help, it gnawed at my gut. Suddenly, a hard, rapid knock rattled my passenger door. 2 sharp bangs, then nothing. I spun, flashlight beam jerking across the window. No shadow, no outline, just the swirling dust caught in headlights. I felt watched, every inch of exposed skin tingling with cold sweat. I lunged back into the cab, locked both doors, and scanned the lot again. The CB was sputtering, her sobs now broken like she was crying underwater. Then, soft as a breath, she whispered my name. "You see me, don't you?" I unplugged the radio, desperate to kill the transmission, but as soon as the plug fell out, the CB's transmission light kept blinking as if someone was still keyed in from somewhere. My heart hammered in my chest, breath coming short and fast. The bug buzz was deafening now, cicadas rattling as the wind picked up, blowing sand everywhere. I reached for my phone but didn't have a signal. All I could do was listen. Through the static, over the CB, her voice came again. Softer. "Thank you." I started the rig and drove away. For miles, I saw nothing in my mirrors. No headlights, no movement, just the desert stretching out like a black sea. At the next truck stop, I logged onto a trucking forum to ask if anyone else had heard her. The replies came quick, story after story, all variations of the woman on exit 12. Some said she thanked them before they even saw her. Others heard her voice echoing after they'd unplugged their radios. Nobody ever saw her car. Nobody ever found her. To this day, I unplug my CB every time I drive that stretch. Sometimes, late at night, when I'm parked in the dark, the transmission light will blink just for a second, as if someone out there still remembers my name. If you're the type to still be here at this point, I don't usually ask, but if this story is getting under your skin, show it some love. It really helps. I learned long ago that truckers have little rituals for staying awake at night. Some sing, some play tapes, some talk to strangers over the CB just to break up the monotony. For me, it was dialing through channels when the regular ones got too staticky. That habit saved my life once near the Pennsylvania-New York border, a night so foggy I felt like I was driving through a dream. It was October, late in the month, and the mist was so thick it clung to everything, windows, mirrors, even my skin when I rolled them down. The trees lining the highway were pitch black, the forest looming with a kind of silent threat. I remember the sharp scent of pine and how the fog made everything smell cold and damp, even in the heated cab. Channel 19 started giving me trouble about midnight. Every few minutes, pulses of static cut through, ragged and deep, like something chewing up the signal. I flicked through 21, 22, ended up on 23, a frequency nobody should have been using. Not out there. That's when I heard them. Two men, voices low and weirdly hissy, talking about the body and making sure the truck's clear. I froze in my seat, fingers tightening on the wheel. At first, I thought it was a joke. A couple guys having a laugh. Halloween coming up, maybe trying to spook a new driver. But then one spoke. White Freightliner, blue canvas tarp, Pennsylvania license. He was describing me exactly. Parked on a deserted stretch, my truck the only splash of color in the endless gray. My chest squeezed tight. I tried to answer, but my CB crackled. Not sending, just feeding me their talk. Then, through the fog, a pale set of headlights bobbed in my rear mirror, maybe half a mile back. I switched back to 19 calling out, anyone near mile marker 412, getting weird chatter on 23. Nothing but static, so dense it felt like it filled my head. I tried dialing 24 and 25. Dead air. Back to 23, the men were still talking, only now they said, pull off by the old diner, left side dirt road, hurry. I checked my GPS. Off to the left, just ahead, a closed-up diner popped into view, a place I'd seen before, windows boarded, sign snapped in half, surrounded by weeds. There shouldn't have been anyone there, not that late, not in the fog. Headlights behind me grew brighter, then vanished completely, swallowed whole by the mist. When I passed the diner, I saw fresh tire tracks cutting into the dirt road, ones that weren't there an hour ago. My mind ran wild. Was someone hiding out, watching the highway for drivers dumb enough to stop? I kept driving, hands slick with sweat on the wheel, scanning every shadow for movement. Out in the distance, a barn owl cried, its voice thin and pure. Just a moment, I thought of shutting off the radio for good, but the curiosity was stronger. Who was talking and how did they know about my truck? It wasn't until sunrise that I risked stopping. In a sleepy town a few dozen miles up, coffee in hand, I asked a waitress about Channel 23. She squinted, gray hair, stern jaw, and said soft as a secret. Used to be county crews on that channel. Some folks didn't come home. There was bad trouble there years ago. I wanted to laugh it off, but 3 state's troopers at the next counter overheard. One confirmed that channel went silent after they lost 2 road teams in the 80s. Never did find what happened. Just static now, unless the fog rolls in. Back in my rig, pulling out, I dialed through the CB one last time. Skipped 23 on purpose. But on nights when the fog is thick and the highway is empty, sometimes, just sometimes, the static sounds like whispering. If I catch a voice, I kill the power, because I'd rather hear nothing at all than wait for someone to call my name. Some nights, when I'm driving through the vast darkness with only the hum of my rig and the crackle of old static for company, I wonder about all the stories drifting through those radio waves. The CB used to feel like a lifeline, voices trading weather and road tips, friendly enough in the emptiness. But after what I've heard, after what I can't forget, there are moments when the silence feels heavier and the static almost sounds like voices trying to break through. Sometimes, deep into the night, I hear my name whispered from somewhere far away. And I wonder if some signals just keep echoing, long after the person on the other end is gone. They say the air out here carries everything. Rain, dust, memories, warnings. If you ever find yourself up late on a lonely highway, listening for company on the old CB channels, remember, not every voice that calls out really wants a reply. Thanks for listening. If you made it through the darkness, sleep well.